Amara froze at the name. Later that night, as Amara cleaned the dining table, she overheard Clara on the phone in the next room. I don't care what it takes, Clara whispered. He must never find out. Do you hear me? Never. Amara froze, her hands trembling on the silver tray. She didn't understand the words fully, but she knew one thing. Clara was hiding something from David. And it was big. He noticed Amara serving dinner and asked kindly, "You must be the new maid." David called Amara aside. One hot afternoon, while Clara was out shopping, Amara found the chance she had been waiting for. Because pain makes people cruel. And because some secrets in this mansion are darker than you think. The sound of approaching footsteps forced Amara to run out of the room. Her heart beat wildly. Amara turned slowly. Clara's eyes were red, her face pale with fury. The sun was setting slowly over Victoria Island, painting the sky with strokes of gold and orange. Cars honked as they raced along the busy streets, but behind tall iron gates stood a mansion that silenced all the noise. It belonged to David, one of the richest men in Lagos. People called it the mansion by the sea because from the upstairs balcony, one could see the waves hitting the shore. Inside the mansion was Clara, David's new wife. She was beautiful, the kind of woman who made heads turn when she walked into a room. Her dresses sparkled, her makeup was always perfect, and her smile, when she gave it, was dazzling. But behind her beauty was a fire that burned too hot. No maid could last in her house. They all left in tears, some after just a day, others after a week. Neighbors whispered about her sharp tongue and cruel ways. Another maid gone? One driver outside the gate asked the gateman. Yes, the gateman sighed. The poor girl ran out crying again this morning. Madam is not easy. Clara wanted things done in a way no one understood. She shouted over small mistakes, broke plates when she was angry, and made strange demands late at night. David, her husband, was often away on business trips, so no one could stop her. People in the neighborhood began to wonder if anyone could ever work for her and survive. But that same evening, while the mansion grew quiet again, far away in a small village outside Lagos, a young girl named Amara was packing her bag. She was poor but determined. Her cousin had told her about a job in Victoria Island. The pay is good, her cousin said, but no maid lasts there. The madam will chase you away. Amara looked at her little brother sleeping on a mat. She whispered to herself, I have to try. I cannot fail. He needs food. He needs school. And so, without knowing the storm she was about to walk into, Amara set out for Victoria Island. The morning breeze in Lagos carried both promise and fear as Amara stepped out of the bus that brought her from the village. The tall buildings of Victoria Island loomed over her like giants. She clutched her small bag tightly, her heart beating fast. She had never seen houses this big, cars this shiny, or people walking with such confidence. The mansion was even more intimidating up close. The gate was painted black with golden designs, guarded by a stern-looking man in uniform. He eyed her from head to toe. Amara's dress was plain, her shoes dusty from travel. You're the new maid? He asked. Yes, sir, she answered softly. He shook his head. Good luck. You'll need it. When the gate opened, Amara stepped inside. The compound looked like a palace. The house stood tall with glass windows that shone under the sun. Expensive cars were parked in a neat row. She whispered to herself, this is another world. Inside, Clara sat on a velvet chair in the living room. Her nails were painted bright red, and her eyes were sharp like glass. She looked at Amara as though she were something bought from the market. So, you're the new one, Clara said slowly. Do not disappoint me. I hate mistakes. Yes, Ma, Amara replied, lowering her eyes. From that moment, the test began. Clara ordered her around from morning till night, cleaning, arranging, serving, and polishing. The work was endless. Amara's feet ached, but she refused to complain. Every corner of the mansion seemed to whisper stories of the maids who had failed before her. She remembered her little brother's face and promised herself she would not run away. But as the night came and Clara's temper flared over a cup of tea that wasn't hot enough, Amara realized this was no ordinary job. This was a battle. The second day tested Amara in ways she could not imagine. Clara woke early, her voice echoing through the mansion. She called Amara into the bedroom and pointed at the curtains. "Why are these not shining? Can't you see they look dull? Do you want my guests to think I live like a beggar?" Amara bowed her head. "Sorry, Ma. I'll fix it right away." Clara hissed. "Sorry is not enough. Do the work." By afternoon, Clara had given her 10 different tasks. She wanted the silverware polished until it sparkled, the floors scrubbed until her reflection could be seen, and her clothes arranged by color, size, and fabric. Amara worked until her fingers hurt. The chef, an older man named Mark, watched her quietly from the kitchen. He shook his head and whispered, "She is always like this. Don't let her break you." Amara nodded but kept silent. Deep inside, she felt a strange sadness about Clara. The woman's beauty was striking, but her heart seemed wounded. Her anger felt like a shield hiding something deeper. Amara noticed how Clara spent hours alone in her room, sometimes staring at old photographs, her face darkened by pain. That night, as Amara lay on her small bed in the servants' quarters, she whispered a prayer. "Lord, give me strength. I will not run. I will endure." But even she did not know the storm ahead would be more dangerous than Clara's shouting. David, the billionaire husband, returned home from a business trip one evening. The mansion suddenly became alive with activity. Drivers hurried, the chef prepared a grand meal, and Clara dressed in her finest gown. Amara saw him for the first time, tall, handsome, with a calm face. Unlike Clara, his voice was gentle. He noticed Amara serving dinner and asked kindly, "You must be the new maid. How are you settling in?" Amara nodded nervously. "I'm fine, sir. Thank you." Clara shot Amara a sharp look, as if warning her not to speak too freely. Throughout dinner, Clara smiled sweetly at David, her voice soft and charming. But when he turned his head, her eyes hardened. Amara realized Clara lived in two worlds, one for her husband and another for everyone else. Later that night, as Amara cleaned the dining table, she overheard Clara on the phone in the next room. Her voice was low, but filled with anger. "I don't care what it takes," Clara whispered. "He must never find out. Do you hear me? Never." Amara froze, her hands trembling on the silver tray. She didn't understand the words fully, but she knew one thing. Clara was hiding something from David, and it was big. The next morning, Mark, the chef, pulled Amara aside. His face looked serious. "Listen to me, child," he said quietly. "Do your work and keep your head low. Don't ask questions in this house. Many have tried, and many have left in shame." Amara looked at him. "But why is Madam like this? Why does she treat people so badly?" Mark sighed. "Because pain makes people cruel, and because some secrets in this mansion are darker than you think." The words stayed in Amara's heart all day. She watched Clara carefully now. Beneath the shouting and sharp words, she saw loneliness. Sometimes Clara stared at the ocean from her balcony, her eyes wet, her lips trembling. That evening, Clara accused Amara of breaking a vase she had not even touched. Her voice rose until David walked into the room. Clara quickly changed her tone, smiling and wrapping her arms around her husband. "Oh, darling, it was nothing," she said sweetly. "Just a small mistake." David kissed her forehead, unaware of the storm beneath the roof. Amara cleaned up the broken pieces in silence, but inside, her spirit grew stronger. She was no longer afraid of Clara's temper. She wanted to know the truth hidden inside this house. And little by little she would find it. It was past midnight when Amara woke to the sound of footsteps. The mansion was usually quiet at that hour, but now soft movements echoed through the hallway. She tiptoed out of her small room and followed the sound. From the corner of the staircase, she saw Clara in her silk robe, walking quickly with her phone pressed to her ear. Clara's voice was sharp but low. I told you already, she hissed. Do not call me at this hour again. If David suspects anything, it's over. Amara's heart pounded. Clara's words were filled with fear, not just anger. She slipped back into her room before Clara could see her. The next morning, Clara's temper was hotter than ever. She shouted about the curtains, the dishes, even the way Amara walked. But Amara noticed her eyes. They looked tired, shadowed, as if she hadn't slept. For the first time, Amara wondered if Clara's cruelty came not only from pride but from something eating her inside. She whispered to herself, what secret is she hiding? And who is she so afraid of? One evening, while Amara swept the front yard, a man appeared at the gate. He was tall, with a rough face, and his clothes looked out of place for Victoria Island. He called softly, "Tell Clara I am here." The gateman frowned. "Madam doesn't see strangers." The man's eyes narrowed. "She knows me. Tell her it's Chris." Amara froze at the name. She carried the information carefully into the house. Clara was lounging in the living room with a glass of wine when Amara spoke. "Ma, someone named Chris is outside." Clara's glass nearly slipped from her hand. For a moment, her face turned pale. Then, quickly, she composed herself and said coldly, "Tell him I don't know any Chris. And if he ever comes again, the police will handle him." Amara obeyed, but she could not ignore what she had seen. Clara's fear was real. That night, Amara lay awake. Who was Chris, and why did his name shake the mighty Clara? David adored his wife. To him, Clara was perfection. He spoke of her beauty to his friends, brought her gifts from his travels, and defended her fiercely. At dinner, he laughed at her jokes, completely blind to the shadows that trailed her. Amara watched silently as David treated Clara like a queen. She saw the way Clara smiled sweetly at him, her voice soft as honey, only to snap at the staff the moment he left the room. It was as if she lived two lives, one for him and one for everyone else. One night, David called Amara aside. "Thank you for taking care of the house while I'm away," he said kindly. "Clara tells me you are hardworking." Amara was stunned. Clara, who scolded her every day, had told David she was hardworking? The lie confused her, but it also opened her eyes. Clara wanted David to see her as perfect. Everything else was just a mask. And Amara wondered, what would happen if that mask ever broke? Amara had been in the mansion for 2 months when she stumbled upon something she wasn't supposed to see. While cleaning upstairs, she noticed a small door in the corner of Clara's dressing room. It was half hidden by a curtain. Curiosity pushed her closer. The door was locked, but the smell of old paper and perfume drifted out through a crack. Amara bent low, pressing her ear to it. Inside, she heard Clara moving things, maybe boxes, maybe clothes. Then she heard Clara whisper, "No one must ever know." The sound of approaching footsteps forced Amara to run out of the room. Her heart beat wildly. That secret door became a shadow in her mind. What was Clara hiding there? She wanted to tell Mark, the chef, but something stopped her. She remembered his warning. Don't ask questions in this house. Still, the temptation grew. If Clara's secret was discovered, maybe the house would finally be free. One evening, Clara threw a dinner party for her wealthy friends. The mansion sparkled with light, and music filled the air. Amara and the other staff worked hard to keep everything perfect. But when a glass of wine spilled on Clara's gown, she exploded. She slapped the maid who carried it, shouting in front of all the guests. The room went silent. David rushed to calm her, embarrassed, but Clara's anger was unstoppable. After the guests left, Clara stormed into her room. Amara, sent to deliver towels, found her sitting alone, shaking. For the first time, Clara's eyes were filled not with rage, but with tears. She whispered to herself, "I can't let him find out. I can't lose everything." Amara stood quietly by the door, torn between fear and pity. She began to understand that Clara's cruelty was only a cover. Beneath it, the woman was drowning. But drowning in what? The secret room. The man called Chris. The midnight phone calls. All the pieces floated in Amara's mind like broken glass. She knew one thing: the truth was closer than ever, and when it came out, it would burn like fire. The rains came heavy that night. Victoria Island's streets glistened with water as thunder rolled across the sky. Inside the mansion, Clara tried to keep her usual composure, but when the bell rang at the gate, she froze. Chris had returned. Amara saw him through the glass window. His face was fierce, his eyes sharp. He didn't care about the rain soaking him to the skin. This time he shouted at the gate, "Tell Clara she cannot hide forever." The gateman refused to let him in, but Clara's hands shook as she peeped from the balcony. For a second, she whispered, "Why now?" before slamming the door. Later, Amara heard Clara speaking into the phone again, her voice breaking. "I paid you already. I can't keep this secret if he doesn't leave me alone." Amara didn't understand everything, but one word stayed in her ears: paid. Clara was paying someone to hide something. And Chris was the key. The next morning, David announced that he would travel for 2 weeks. Clara put on her sweetest smile and kissed him goodbye at the gate. But the moment his car disappeared, her mask broke. She locked herself in the room for hours, pacing, screaming into the phone. Amara carried meals to the door, but dared not enter. From inside, Clara shouted words that pierced the silence. "If David finds out, I lose everything. Don't you understand?" Everything. Amara trembled. What was Clara hiding that could destroy her marriage? That evening, Clara stormed out of her room and saw Amara watching. Their eyes met. For the first time, Clara's voice was low, almost like a plea. "Dear work, girl. Don't poke your nose where it doesn't belong, or you'll regret it." But instead of fear, Amara felt pity. She saw not a monster, but a woman trapped by her own lies. One hot afternoon, while Clara was out shopping, Amara found the chance she had been waiting for. She slipped into Clara's dressing room and pushed aside the curtain, hiding the small locked door. The lock was weak. With a little force, it clicked open. Inside, the air smelled of old perfume and dust. Amara's eyes widened at the sight before her. Boxes stacked with photographs, letters, and documents. In one box lay pictures of Clara with another man, not David. The same man she had seen at the gate. Chris. Her hands shook as she opened another folder. Bank transfers, all in Clara's name, showed large sums of money moved secretly. And then, a single document that made her gasp: Chris's name listed as the father of a child Clara had once given up. Amara's chest tightened. The truth was heavy. Clara had a past David knew nothing about. A past filled with betrayal, lies, and hidden shame. She quickly closed the door before Clara returned, but her heart pounded with the weight of the secret. Should she tell David? Or should she stay silent? That night, Amara couldn't sleep. The secret burned inside her. At dawn, she found herself standing by the balcony, watching the waves crash against the shore. Suddenly, Clara's voice cut through the air. "You went into my room." Amara turned slowly. Clara's eyes were red, her face pale with fury. She stepped closer, her voice shaking. "You think I don't know? You touched what doesn't belong to you. Do you want to destroy me?" Amara's lips trembled. "Why are you hiding from him, Ma? Why are you hiding from your husband?" For the first time, Clara broke down. She fell into a chair, her body trembling. Tears poured freely as her voice cracked. "You don't understand. If David knows the truth, he will leave me. I was desperate when I married him. Chris was my past. I thought I buried it, but the past has come back to choke me." Amara watched her, torn between anger and compassion. She finally spoke softly. "Then stop fighting everyone. You're hurting people because you're hurting inside." Clara looked at her, stunned. No one had ever spoken to her like that. David returned earlier than expected. He entered the mansion, happy to surprise his wife. But instead of joy, he walked into chaos. Chris had come again, this time forcing his way past the gate. His voice thundered in the living room. "You can't keep lying, Clara. Tell him the truth, or I will." David froze at the doorway, confusion on his face. "What truth?" he demanded. The room went silent. Clara's lips trembled, her face drained of color. Chris stepped forward and spat out the words. "She was mine before she was yours. She had my child. She bought her way into your life with lies." David's world shattered. He turned to Clara, his eyes filled with betrayal. "Is this true?" Clara fell to her knees, sobbing. "David, please. I didn't want to lose you. I was scared." The mansion walls seemed to close in. David walked out, silent, broken. Chris stormed off, his mission complete. Clara collapsed, her sobs echoing through the grand halls. Amara stood in the corner, tears in her eyes. She had seen the mighty Clara fall, not because of anger, but because of truth. The mansion that once sparkled now felt like ruins. In the weeks that followed, David filed for separation. Clara lived in loneliness, abandoned by the world she tried to impress. And Amara, though only a maid, carried the deepest lesson in her heart. Lies may shine for a while, but truth always comes like morning light, breaking everything open.